Salutate la capolista. It feels like we're saying that every week for a new team, and this week it's Napoli. Last week it was Udinese, or the week 2 weeks ago was Udinese. Last week was Torino. This week Napoli. And so we got Carm from Napoli Club Toronto on to chat some Napoli today. I'm Nicholas, joined by Adrian on the Calcio Guys. But Carm, how's it going?
Being in first place, I couldn't be going better. I'll be honest with you. It's been 400 and
I think 483, 493, one of those.
Yes, it's well over a year. So being back on top really does feel nice.
No, it's good. It's good.
It's a tight race. Napoli 13 points, Juve 12, Milan, Inter both 11, Torino 11, Empoli 10. So, I mean, anything can happen. It's only 6 days, but hey, enjoy it while you can.
Of course, yeah. I'm not going to complain about this at all. I'm really going to say after the season we had last year, any moment in the top four, I'm going to savor.
So, anything is better than last season.
Anything.
Before we get into Carm, first, we just want to give you your congratulations. You're a doctor now, doctor of chiropractic. We've known you long enough that where you could say, you know what, we're proud of you. Great job for all the hard work you put in school. So when are you going to work for a Serie A team? Anytime soon?
It's going to be in the works, hopefully.
Napoli's on the phone.
The goal is to always work with athletes. It's been my passion for years now to work with sports injuries and sports rehabilitation. But, starting off with smaller levels, getting in with local teams is, just as satisfying, to be quite honest with you. And I thank you both again for the congratulations on being a doctor.
No, absolutely. I know Johnny couldn't be here tonight, and he sends the same well wishes for you, Carm. Listen, like Nick said, we've had you on so many times. You're like one of like the top. You have like one of the most caps, I think, on the show, or it seems to be at least. So yeah, exactly. So no, honestly, like we've seen your progression, not only with what you're doing with your club at Napoli Club Toronto, but in your personal life as well, and achieving what you dream to do is really amazing to see. So like Nick said, we are proud. We're happy to call you a friend. And yeah, listen, Napoli's in first, so I guess it was the perfect time to bring you on. Saying that, game over the weekend against Monza, and by the way, Carm, I don't know. Listen, everybody puts out their previews to start off the season. I was the only one on the show to pick Napoli to win the Scudetto this season. I'm just putting that out there, guys. I have the Napoli drip on tonight from.
I have the receipt. Don't worry.
He has the receipt. So this time, maybe if I get my prediction right, maybe we'll have to do something. But I said Napoli to win the Scudetto this season. I know you guys, especially the Napolitani, are the Scaramanzia is definitely a big thing. So I'm not going to ask you that question, but we'll start off with the game this past week against Monza, the 2-0. Just your thoughts of the game, and just I guess the expectations that you kind of had to open off the season after we spoke a bit off air, the disaster that was last season. Just your expectations to open the season and how you felt this game against Monza went to 2-0.
So I guess I'll start off with the expectation of what we had this season. Personally, Scaramanzia, I'm going to do this too while I'm at it, but I thought we were going to do very, very well this season. Just everything was aligned for us to do well. First and foremost, you have a serial winner leading your squad. And Nicholas, being a Juve fan, can attest to this. There's no playing around when Conte is in charge. It's his way or the highway. There's no two ways about it. And when everything is going Conte's way, it's perfect. And so far, that seems to be the way things are going right now. The team seems to be more united than ever, which is something that we lost last season under Garcia. And then I think Garcia was the first domino to fall that caused everything else. I mean, that team just they didn't seem normal, if that's the best.
Lifeless.
They seemed lifeless, like they didn't enjoy being there. Now, this is not an individual sport. This is a team sport. This relies on the group. If the group isn't together, if the group isn't on the same page, you've lost. There's no hope of getting that back, right?
Yeah.
You can see that with any team, like Italy when they won the Euros. They didn't have the best team, but they were a group. They were all on the same page. And that's the key to success. So seeing that this season, you can see it in every goal. Conte running up and down the sidelines, hugging all the players. Everyone just they fight for each other, and that is amazing to see. You couple that with only playing one game a week, Coppa Italia being your only other competition. Things are lining up to be pretty good for this season. I won't say we will win, but there's a pretty good chance that Napoli could win the Scudetto. In terms of the last game against Monza, amazing game. I thought it was really, really well coached. The first half, the first couple of seconds, it seemed like Monza was going to be a little bit of a problem, but then Napoli really quickly got a hold of the game. They controlled the ball. Not even controlling the ball, they controlled off the ball. They controlled the pace of play through defense. They just weren't letting Monza play the way they wanted to play by shutting them down defensively. And then, of course, classic Conte style, hitting them on a couple quick plays, couple counters, and it's a goal. Second half got boring, but with a Conte team, that's kind of what you expect. You know, it's a little bit more tactica than it is flair.
Yeah.
Conte doesn't care, and as long as he gets the 3 points, it doesn't matter how you play, you come out with a win with 3 points. Personally, it's not my favorite style. I always like to see a little bit of added pressure, a little bit of flair, you know, not so much sitting back and absorbing the pressure, but also giving it back. Because like a weaker team like Monza, you can give that pressure back and really take control of the game offensively as well.
Mm-hmm.
When he did it against Juve, the 0-0 tie, I completely understand that. You're away at Torino against a top 4 team. They have to win. You don't have to win that game. They have to go out and win. So just take the pressure, absorb it, let them get frustrated, and then if you happen to come across a goal, you take your chance. So I think Conte, what he's done really well is prepare the team for the game that they're going to be playing, preparing them for their opponent. So depending on if you're playing Roma, Juve, Atalanta, you name it, they might play a little bit differently than as if they were to play a mid-table or lower level side. So overall, I thought it was an amazing game tactically, and just, you know, everything worked out perfectly. And I think this season is going to go pretty well.
It's funny what you mentioned, especially with the Juve game, because that's what Johnny said last week, where it was a game where I came into the podcast, I was frustrated with the play and even the result. You know, I expected more, and then Johnny on the other side, he said, you know what, 0-0 away at Juventus, that's a good result. So like you said, you play to your opponent, but for Napoli, they have to play up to those opponents, but they can't play down to the opponents, right? Because you know, look at their schedule. They have Como coming up. They just played, obviously it was in Monza. They played Palermo in a Serie B team, and that's kind of what makes a difference between, you know, a good team and a great team, where they won't play down to these opponents. They come out, beat Palermo 5-0, beat Monza 2-0. I mean, I guess it's safe to say that again, that's down to Conte's preparation.
Yep. Yeah, 100%. It all comes down to that. And, you know, that was Napoli's biggest problem, is that they always played down to their opponent.
Mm-hmm.
For example, last season in Coppa Italia, our first game, we lost 4-0 to Frosinone.
Yeah.
How do you lose? How do you manage to lose 4-0 to a Frosinone team? But that's just because, first of all, the group wasn't there, and they always played down to their opponent. And we saw it in seasons past. This year, the tides have shifted, where you have that strong leader at the front preparing this team for the game that they need to play, and no variance in the style. This is what we're going to do. This is what everyone needs to do in their role. If you don't want to play that role, we have someone else who can play it for you. That's the beauty of this team, is that you have that structure to it. And yeah, just coming out with the proper preparation is just massive.
No, I totally agree. I mean, listen, to start off the season, I had said, you know, for Napoli, you know, with them getting Conte, I think obviously was huge. They needed that that pick me up because they were really down, and it was a shame to really see how it went down from being on top of the world to really at the bottom. It was such a drastic fall, and I guess if there was any name to bring them up, it would have been a guy like Conte, because like you said, Carm, we all know by watching this league and following Conte's career, there's almost nobody better to whip your players into shape, and they're going to be in shape. There's no two ways about it. So I felt that was a strong point, just to cherry pick off of what you had said earlier. And honestly, again, I was going to hit you with a question about these transfers that have come in, but I think the biggest one for me that I was saying at the time, because I didn't know what Neres was going to come in, I didn't know what McTominay was going to come in, a Gilmore, these players, but Lukaku, for me, as much as it pains me to say, seeing he played for Inter, he won with Inter and whatnot. For me, being a Milan fan, but Conte and Lukaku is equivalent to bread and butter, right? They've shown it everywhere they've went. It's worked. It tastes good. It's nothing fancy, but hey, listen, bread and butter. At the weddings, we would always go for the bread and butter, right? So when we were kids, so I think that was kind of a match made in heaven. They made it happen, and I think that was going to be the biggest X factor for them, because. And we'll get into maybe the whole Osimhen and all that situation maybe later. But what are your thoughts on the transfers that have come in? Because if just looking as an outsider, you can correct me if I'm wrong, Carm. Majority of them, if not all, have been pluses. Like they've been positive, in my opinion, so far. I just want to get your take on the additions that were made. Were you surprised they invested the way they did? And just kind of your overall thoughts of the new acquisitions and how they've been playing so far.
The only way in which I'm surprised in the investments is because of the fact that we didn't have Champions League money to invest in the squad.
Yeah.
That's the one thing that surprised me a lot. But to that point, it just shows you how well the team has been run up until this point. De Laurentiis, we all made fun of him. Napoli fans all make fun of him.
Everybody.
But there's a reason. There's a reason for madness. And he built himself a little squirrel fund for if things were to go awry, and they did last season, he can dip into his pockets a little bit more and try to build yourself out of it. And that is just like you rarely see that in football nowadays. And they're still in the green, which is amazing. They were able to invest all of this stuff, and they were still in the green. They didn't lose much with all these investments. So that's the only thing that surprised me. It also didn't surprise me in the fact that when you sign Conte, you are going in with the mindset that he is going to want these players.
Yeah.
He comes in with the list. Him, Oriali, Manna, they all come in saying, these are the guys we want. You buy them or we walk. That's exactly how it's going to be. De Laurentiis, I believe, realized that. Well, he must have realized that when he signed Conte and was happy to oblige him. And it's worked out perfectly. Lukaku has been a great signing. I mean, Lukaku with Conte, you see what happens. He's always he plays his best football under Antonio Conte, wherever he goes.
Absolutely. And
he's a striker that we needed. He's a pure number 9 that can hold the ball, but also be quite lethal in the box. He's a great number 9. Billy Gilmore is on another amazing signing. Basically a starter in the Premier League with Brighton. Very, very rarely will you find another player that is like Stanislav Lobotka. Maybe you have Hakan, Pedri, and then that's it. Like that's in the world. That's what you get. And then you have another young midfielder that plays that same Regista style role. And he has time to learn under a mentor like Lobotka before he may take his place in the future, let's say. David Neres has been phenomenal and has always been phenomenal since his Ajax days. I'm also an Ajax fan. I like watching Ajax. They suck now, but that's besides the point. But when Neres was coming up through Ajax and then through Benfica, he's always been a solid player, very creative. his dribbling ability, as you can tell, it's unbelievable. I mean, he's very tough to get the ball off of him, and you need that creativity up front. Politano offers you a little bit more stability defensively, but Nedis offers you a little bit more of that creativity up top, which when you pair it with Kvaratskhelia and Lukaku, it's a backline nightmare, right? So those are the great signings, but my favorite signing is Scott McTominay. Scott McTominay is my favorite signing that we made so far, because he's basically, if you took Zielinski and gave him a plus 10 boost in every other attribute, heights, weights, just like everything. It's
physicality.
Like, he's like, yeah, he's just like an upgraded Zielinski, in lack of a better term. He didn't get a fair shake at United, I don't think. United's also a very tough team for a young player to break into, right? Like, I think he needed to go to another squad to break through and then back to United. That being said, he's still fairly young. I think he's 27?
Yeah.
7 or something like that. So he's starting to just enter the prime of his career. And what better coach to do that with than Antonio Conte? And you can see every time he steps on the field, he's just pure box to box. Not only does he win the ball, but when he wins the ball, he knows exactly what to do with it. Looks for his outlet pass, supports with Kvaratskhelia, scored a beautiful goal against Palermo. I don't know if you guys saw that. Lukaku cut back first time to the bottom corner. Not an easy finish. I think our biggest impact signing is Scott McTominay for this season.
He already kissed the badge too. I saw. So he's invested. He's invested.
That sealed it for me too. You know.
Yeah. There you go.
But it's funny, Carm. The last time Napoli fans talked about how great of a summer was in terms of summer signings was back in that 22-23 season. You look back, who they signed that summer: Anguissa, Kvara, Kim, Simeone, Raspadori. All these guys had an impact as they marched on to the Scudetto. And now you're talking, and it seems like they hit every signing. I'm not saying
you just said Kim. I forgot about Buongiorno.
Buongiorno, yeah.
Buongiorno. Center back. Right. Buongiorno. Best Italian center back currently, I believe. Maybe Calafiori if he plays center back. He's more of a left back. But I think
but Buongiorno doesn't have nice hair, so no one gives him credit.
Yeah, I know.
I saw that post that Serie A put. What's it been like? 1,500 over 1,500 minutes without getting dribbled past.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, that has to stand for something. Like, I mean, even in his Torino days, like, he was a solid defender. Like, like how Bremer broke through at Torino and went to Juve to make that jump to the next step. Buongiorno almost seemed to do the same, or so far the similar thing in breaking through with an upper squad in Napoli. So that's another one I forgot. You're right.
That quality for 40 million. That is unheard of
in today's market.
That is unbelievable
good business.
So yeah, sorry to interrupt you, Nick, there, but you just said Kim, and I'm like, oh yeah, Buongiorno. That's another.
Yeah, no worries. But yeah, what I wanted to ask is more, one thing that surrounded Juve last season was no European competition. A lot of people talked about that helping the team. Obviously, ultimately, Juve didn't win the Scudetto. Finished top 4, good enough to get back into Europe, to get back into Champions League. And I'm gonna ask you the same question for Napoli, especially because it's a new coach, new players, new system. How much does that help? Just not having these games, these midweek games pretty much every second week. Sure, they just played Coppa Italia, and the next round for Coppa Italia, I think, is in December. But they really have to just focus on Serie A. How much does that help?
I think it helps a lot. Now, if you ever lose focus, which could happen pretty easily, it could also be very detrimental if you're not having that consistent play time, right? I think the coach matters a lot. Like I said, having Antonio Conte, he's going to make sure these guys are primed and ready for every game. Doesn't matter if it's once a week or 4 times a week. He's always going to have them ready to go out and play the game that they need to play. Like with Juve last season, it's also tough to make a comparison because Juve is still somewhat rebuilding. You can tell from this season as well. They're not really at their full potential just yet. So a little bit different, but I think just the main problem is staying focused, making sure that you stay focused on the goal and don't be distracted by what's going on in the present. You always have to keep thinking about the future. Doesn't matter if you have 2 games a week, 3 games a week, or just 1 game a week. You always have to keep your mind on the prize. If not, then that's where you can start having some difficulties.
Yeah, no. Another thing, like, the whole like, I wanted to get into the Osimhen thing, but maybe I'll push it a little bit later. But with Antonio Conte, first off, were you surprised that he came in, Antonio Conte?
No, I knew from last season that he was going to be coming in.
Okay, so
Yeah.
you were aware and you wanted and you were good to have him in.
Yeah.
Sorry, yeah, Nick, you.
No, I just have a follow-up question to that. Were you surprised that ADL hired Antonio Conte? Because, you're just talking about bread and butter. These guys are like olive oil and balsamic vinegar. They don't mesh.
Water and oil.
I'll be honest with you. No, not really. Because I think what happened last season was that De Laurentiis realized that, I want to say it, like you can only have so much luck is like I guess the best way to say it, because he's always made the signings with some not no-name coaches, but like just like Sadi, for example. He took Sadi from Empoli essentially and brought him up to Napoli, and a couple other coaches like that. It didn't surprise me that he would realize after such a disastrous season where he appointed Rudy Garcia, who did nothing in his career, to take over a Napoli squad. He must have self-reflected and said, I can't let this happen again. I can't take a gamble on someone like Rudy Garcia. I need something more established, and Antonio Conte is the easy answer.
Mm-hmm. No. Listen, I think many people would have thought that. Again, listen, the season's still young, so who's to say that things, won't change or what have you? But for you guys, we hope that they don't. But with two characters like that, I think the first thing that in people's minds were like, these guys are gonna clash like instantly. Like the character of De Laurentiis, the character of Conte. At one point, I feel like I guess people thought that they would have clashed. My thing that I wanted to ask concerning Conte, and you knew that he was going to come in. You wanted him to come in. You're happy that he came in. The whole stigma of Conte, yes, get your players motivated. He's all in. He's a serial winner. The whole nine. We know all that. The stigma around him of really only staying on for 2, max 3 years, and then he's out once he doesn't get his way. Is that something that yourself or Napoli fans are have in the back of your mind, or like, are you okay with that if it's only this small window of Antonio Conte, or would you have rathered something that could potentially have been for the long haul and more than just that 2-3 season window under a coach like Conte?
I think I'm okay with it for now.
Okay.
Because even if he does stay for 2 or 3 seasons and they do exceptionally well, or they win, for example, for one of those seasons, yeah, I think I'm okay with that, because Conte will establish a basis to this team, right? Reestablish a basis to this team. And that can be used on for future coaches coming in, even though the system might change a little bit. The core group is still going to be the same and intact. So I'm okay with it. Also, you're allowing other coaches in Europe that are just starting to come up a little bit more time to gain experience. And then maybe you can go for one of them like, let's see, like Palladino, for example, or Farioli with Ajax. I don't know, a couple of Nesta, I guess you can say too. Like all these coaches.
The Vanoli for Torino.
Yeah, exactly. So these guys are just starting to come out, get their experience, and then in the future, depending on how their career goes, you can take one of them. But I think I'm okay with it right now for the 2 years or 3 years that Conte may stay.
Looking forward to Napoli's matches. So, like I said, they play Como on Friday, and then there's the international break. They come back, they play Empoli. And then they got Lecce, and then they got Milan at the end of October. So, okay, I know Empoli's been doing actually really well this season, but this is, they don't play a true top team until Milan, but then it gets tough. You got Atalanta, you got Inter, you got Roma, and then Torino, and then Lazio in the Coppa Italia at the beginning of December, and then Lazio again at the beginning of right after that, again at the beginning of December in the Serie A. So how important is it just alone the month of October to get these points now against these Comos, Empolis, and Lecces?
You have to get them.
9 points?
You have to get them. You have to get 9
Plus.
points. There's no other way around it, because I don't want it to happen. Of course, nobody wants to lose.
Sure.
But unfortunately, you may lose one of those games, or at you'll draw if things go as bad. But going up into that stretch of games, Milan, Atalanta, Inter, Roma, Torino, Lazio, Udinese, because Udinese is doing really well this season. So you have them too. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 games of basically top 6 matchups.
Yeah.
One after another. You're not going to win every game. You're not going to go 3 points on every single game. So getting the points right now, where other teams may drop points during this month as well, that's going to be the thing that sets you apart. You can't win a Scudetto in October, but you can lose it. So that's the mindset you kind of have to have, especially when you're going up against a new promoted side, a relegation side in Lecce, and then who else is it? Lecce, Como.
Como. What was the other one, Nick? Lecce, Como, and?
Empoli.
Empoli.
There.
So, you know what? I'm going to give credit to Empoli, because they're one of the best defensive teams in the Serie A right now. They can't get much wins in. Let me just pull up their record for a second here.
2 or 3 wins.
Two wins in 6 games. 2 goals against, 5 goals for. So you know what? They're playing well defensively.
They haven't lost. Yeah, they haven't lost.
They haven't lost.
They're undefeated. Yeah,
exactly. It's them and Juve, the only teams that haven't lost, and they're the 2 best defenses in the Serie A. So defense wins championships.
Go figure. No, listen, I agree. Carm, I think it's crucial. Again, we always say on the show, and I think just being Serie A fans, we know it. There is no easy games in Serie A, and we've seen it time and time again. That these lower end teams, you can't really take it lightly, even though on the calendar and on paper you should pick up maximum points. So, but I agree with what you're saying. It's a must 9 points for Napoli if they want to. If they're serious, right? Like at the end of the day, if they're serious to get to the levels that, you won't say, but I will say for you, come the end of the season, I think this is, like you said, this is the time to start picking up those points where you have to. It's not that you're content with a draw against Juve at away. Like you have to pick up these 9 points in those 3 straight matches. Yeah. As we're saying, the whole 1 game a week, Coppa Italia mixing into it. Is Coppa Italia something that you're? I mean, listen, it's hard to ask this type of question, because I think you should go into every competition trying to do well. Just your thoughts on the Coppa Italia run, if they have one. Like, is it something that is of importance for yourself, for Napoli fans? Like, what do you think about that?
I wouldn't say it's be all end all, but it is important to do well in that competition. It's a trophy at the end of the day, right?
Yeah.
You want to win a trophy, and if that's one of the only competitions that you have to play in, you should try your best to go out and win it. For me, I can't speak on behalf of all Napoli fans. It's somewhat important. I'd be very happy if we won. I wouldn't be heartbroken if we crashed out. If we crashed out early, rather. If we lost in semifinal or final, I'd be okay with it.
Yeah.
Just because you gave it your best. You gave it a run. And whatever happens in 90 minutes of football happens. So I think it's important that they go out and win this competition, because you need some form of winning back. We need something after last season. So yeah.
It's interesting because I mentioned they play
That's
Lazio.
tough too. Sorry, Nick, I didn't want to cut you off, but I was just going to say that side of the bracket is the tougher side.
That's exactly what I was going to bring up.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, no worries. You were buffering, so I didn't even realize you were talking.
Sorry.
Anyways, yeah, like I said, they Lazio round of 16, and then the winner of that game plays winner of Inter and Udinese. And on that side of the bracket, there's AC Milan versus Sassuolo and Roma versus Sampdoria. So,
yeah,
it's tough. You got 4 big teams versus the other side. There's Juve, Fiorentina, Bologna, and Atalanta, which are the 4 of the top teams. So Napoli is on the tough side, but hey, anything could happen in this tournament, especially with teams that play basically their backups. It obviously gets a bit more serious when they get to the semifinals. They're playing a bit more regulars, but anything could happen in this tournament. But Adri, did you have any other questions?
I had like 2, if that's cool, Carm.
Yeah, go ahead.
I guess I'll leave the Osimhen thing for last, but because I've been saying it throughout the time here. But you mentioned McTominay as one of your favorite signings that came into Napoli this season. Just want to get your maybe. I know it's very early, but maybe just your tops. Like who has impressed you besides McTominay on the roster? Because I think if there's one player that really is, I mean, he already was putting the team on his back, but really now he has no choice. Is Kvaratskhelia. Like the kid is, I saw Cassano say he's the best left wing in Serie A. Again, we don't know if we have to believe Cassano or not, but he's really phenomenal player. We've said it since he came into the league, since he broke out. We've given him his flowers. I just want you to give your thoughts on maybe even just Kvaratskhelia, and then kind of who else has impressed you on the squad so far in these opening match days.
Yeah, well, Kvaratskhelia is Kvaratskhelia. I mean, what else do we have to say about him?
Sure.
Even in his bad season, he had double digits in goals and assists. So, the stats speak for themselves.
Yeah.
Is he the best left winger in Serie A? Could be.
Definitely.
Could be.
Yeah.
There's a good group of players that also could be up there. Leao, if he really is on his game, Leao could be one of them, for example. So I don't know. To me, just from the past seasons up until right now, he could be one of the best player left wingers in Serie A. Even one of the best players in Serie A.
Yeah.
He's still young. He still has some things to sort out. I feel like at times he holds on to the ball a little bit too much. He tries to be a little bit too much of the phenomenal, trying to do everything himself, and that kind of holds him back a little bit.
Yeah.
But other than that, I think, it speaks for itself. Just watch the kid play and you'll understand. Another player that's impressive, David Neres. I mean, the guy plays 30 minutes of football, has 6,000 goals and 40,000 assists. I mean,
and like God knows how many chances created. Like,
I know it is unbelievable. Every time he steps on the pitch, it's a goal. Whether he scores it or somebody else scores it, there's going to be a goal. He has like the Midas touch. Everything he touches turns right into gold. He's been very, very impressive, especially coming off the bench. I feel like he should be starting. Conte has his reasons why he's not. That's up for Don Conte to decide. I can't say anything about that, but he has a plan. Let him do whatever he wants.
Yeah.
But Neres for sure has been one that has impressed me the most, and Anguissa. Yeah, has stepped up a lot this year. Last year, Anguissa wouldn't even run, even if you took a whip and hit him in the back. Ooh, that's a bad example. Never mind.
But we get the picture.
If you light a fire under his ass, he wouldn't run.
Yeah,
he wouldn't. Last season, he wouldn't do it.
No, he was a shell of his former self last season.
Yeah, he was just he couldn't. He didn't have the void yet to do his role. This year, he's been completely rejuvenated. He's been tracking back nonstop. I mean, he does not stop running. and I don't know where he's got this energy from, but it's just like a complete 180 to see Anguissa play this season. Other than that, I think everything else has been going as expected from all the other players on the pitch.
Yeah.
Mani has stepped up this season too. Di Lorenzo also has been performing pretty well. Yeah, I think those are like the main three that I'd point out for sure.
No, it's good, especially what Di Lorenzo in the offseason, his back and forth, is he out, is he in, is he the captain still? I think when he scored that goal at the beginning of the season, it really meant a lot. So, so we hope to see him continue on this path. But Neres is a good shout. If you weren't going to say him, I was going to probably throw that name in there because Johnny we were speaking about it on the pod before. It's the first 3 games, he had 3 assists already. It seemed like it was crazy. Like he would come off the bench and really be that super sub. But one player that was not a super sub, and he was just an incredible player for Napoli, in the last seasons. And we're gonna finally bring up the Osimhen thing. Carm, just I guess I don't know, just your overall thoughts. Like for me, and I know Johnny, we were speaking about it on the pod. The 3 of us, it just a weird situation how things just ended up being so far right now. He's now at Galatasaray with Icardi, with Mertens. They're all there enjoying life in Turkey. But are you disappointed? Are you what are your emotions, or what did you think of this whole Osimhen situation leaving Napoli kind of the way he did? I believe it is a loan, this is a direct loan, and he will be back, and we'll see what happens after. But angry, upset, or you're okay with how things panned out with the Osimhen situation?
I'm pretty upset about it. I'll be honest with you. Could things have been handled better from the club side? 1,000,000%. No doubt about it. Napoli could have done things better. But I don't know. To me, it's the lack of respect for a player to its society, to the sociedad, and to its fans. It's just a complete lack of respect. Sure, there was some things that happened last season, like the TikTok that, the coconut video and all that. It's just like, yeah, I get it. You can be upset about something like that, sure, but it's just the way in which he acts is very childish, in my opinion, and he is not. And it's not a fault of his own. I believe it's the fault of the people who surround him, because they are not guiding him in the right way. Personally, I don't believe first of all, his agent is number one culprit in this. And then all of the people in his posse are also culprit in this. Because if he had people who genuinely cared about his interests, they would never let him do what he did. Never. You have it made in Napoli. Everyone loves you, right? Anywhere in the city, you have his face painted everywhere. The fans come out to the game. They buy jerseys with the name on your back. They wait hours outside training facilities and after the game to get signatures from you. They love and respect you, and you don't give them that respect back. Anyone in his posse who had half a brain cell would tell them what you are doing, deleting all your pictures from social media, all that other stuff, is you're shooting yourself in the foot. Because not only are you disrespecting the only people that love you, you are showing to other teams, potential buyers, potential people who want to pay you the money that you want to get paid, that you are not worth it. I don't care how good of a player you are. You are not good of a person. I don't want that on my team. I don't want that energy around my group. Why would I pay you that if this is what the results are going to be?
Yeah.
This is just it doesn't make sense at all. And it really does infuriate me, because you get this big divide in Napoli fans and then amongst other fans saying that Napoli, the club, is they're dealing in bad faith and all that other sort of stuff. It's just, why don't we look at it from the other side too? Also, his agent had months to get this guy a deal with any other club. And just because they didn't give them exactly what they wanted, now you've subjected your own star player, the player that you represent that's going to give you the most money for your commission, on a loan in Turkey. You should be fired. Everyone who has you as an agent should fire you for doing something
Be
like that.
ashamed.
You should be ashamed. You should.
Yeah.
Because you have one of the best strikers in the world, and you couldn't secure him a deal anywhere in Europe, any of the top clubs. And there's reasons behind it.
Yep.
A couple of those reasons are what I told you. That the character. Osimhen's a great player. Shit character. That's all it is. And no one's going to pay that.
No, I agree. I think for him, listen, Scudetto winner, Capocannoniere, the whole nine. He had it all, like you said. He had it made in Naples. So for us, it was just a weird situation. Like I just honestly, I didn't know how to feel. Like to me, it didn't make sense how you went from all that to nothing in a blink of an eye, in a blink of a season. Yeah. In a season, I get it. The season didn't go right. You want to win. You know you want to get paid. Everybody wants their bag. I get all that, but a bit of sacrifice in between, I think, has to be done. You can't always just cry and get what you want. Exactly. I don't know. That didn't work in my house, and I know that didn't work in your guys' house either, right? So, so for me, it's still a strange one. I'm curious to see what happens at the end of the season, right? Like Carm, I don't know. Like after this loan, he comes back. He had just signed a new deal with Napoli. I don't know what happens next. It's crazy to see that even Conte couldn't, whip him into shape in the small time that they had together. So if Conte's going to stay on to be the coach, I don't know if that's going to work again come the following season. So
I think Conte knew he was a lost cause.
Yeah,
I think that's what it was.
Seems to be clear.
Yeah,
called up Lukaku right away.
Yeah, exactly.
He called his butter.
He knew it was a lost cause because even last season, Osimhen was starting to show signs of the like he was on his way out.
Bitter, yeah.
But also, he did it. Like I said, it's just with a lack of respect. Like I get that. The social media manager did what he did on some stupid video, and yeah, you're mad about it, but he would score goals and he wouldn't celebrate. He'd just walk away. Like it's a little bit disrespectful to. Yeah, you can be mad at the team. You can be mad at the social media manager, whoever you want to be mad at. But why are you taking it out on everyone else too now? Like we are all in this conspiracy against Victor Osimhen.
Yeah.
It just doesn't make sense to me. And he always has that mentality, and I get why he has it, of him versus the world, because he came from nothing. He was selling water bottles in the streets of Lagos.
Yeah.
And he ended up being one of the best soccer players in the world. I get why you have that mentality. But eventually you're gonna have to break away from it's me versus the world to be more of a team player, for lack of a better word. And that all comes down to the people he has around him. Because like I said, if the people around him gave a damn about Victor Osimhen, they would never in a million years let him act the way he's acting. At least I wouldn't. If I had a friend who was like that and they were acting, I'd stop them across the face a couple times.
Yeah.
And tell them that they're an idiot, because it's just complete disregard and lack of respect for everyone. I don't know. It's a weird situation, and that's what I feel about it.
No, it's well said. And listen, I think if we continue on this, we can blow up another whole episode. So we'll end it there, Carm. We know you have to go, and we really appreciate your time. Just before we let you go, again, if anybody's living under a rock and hasn't seen Carm on the Calcio Guys or doesn't know about his club, Carm, just plug away all the great things that you do. You're always doing something new with you and your guys down in Toronto. So it's honestly, I've said it since day one, Carm, since we met you. Being so young, taking charge of a fan club, doing it the right way, excuse me, is really commendable. So again, plug away, and anything coming up, anything you want to share about the club, the floor is yours.
Yeah, thanks. So, if you don't know, it's Napoli Club Toronto. You can find us on all social media. Just type in Napoli Club Toronto and it'll pop up. Or even plug it into Google. We have a website and everything will direct you to there. As for new things coming out for the club, we're still selling our memberships for the year. Memberships come with this very fine looking hat. Wow.
Beautiful. Look at that, guys.
With the CN Tower.
With the CN Tower on it.
CN Tower.
Well, there on the end.
You know it's Napoli and Toronto.
Yeah.
You should
Here,
show that to Insigne.
Yeah, so we're still selling memberships until the end of this week. So Friday would be the last day to secure a membership. There's different pricing for memberships this year. There's $100, which gives you a jersey, hat, and a bunch of other things.
Nice.
$5 and $50. It's all outlined on our social media and website. So if anyone's interested in the GTA or even outside the GTA, we have people from New York and Italy buying our membership. So if you just want to support the club, feel free and give us a ring and we'll get you set up. No real events coming up right now. Serie A scheduling has not been kind to us in October.
Yeah.
Games are either at 6:30 in the morning or we play Milan on a Tuesday afternoon. So
Yeah, fucking crazy.
I know.
How that works out is freaking crazy.
I can guarantee you the Milan fans are just as unhappy as we are.
Same story. All the fan clubs, listen, I get Italians don't work, but come on, guys.
I know.
All these fan clubs, it's going to waste in the middle of the week like that.
I know. I might have to call in sick that day, but
yeah, there you go. Call in sick. But I heard, did you guys moved? You guys have changed locations of where you guys are meeting?
We have. Yeah, we have. So we were at Nove Baci last season. This season, we found a place that's more fitting. It's called Napoli Bite.
Nice.
And we're there. The owner is also a Napoli fan, so it worked out perfectly. And yeah, that's up in Vaughan. If anyone from the GTA is listening, it's at Weston and Langstaff, right at the corner of Weston and Langstaff. Yeah, so that's the major news with the club right now. And once again, I appreciate both of you for having me on here. Like I said, it feels like home at this point with how many times I've come on, and I enjoy it. Every time I come on, it gets better. I keep doing more and more. So I appreciate you for having me on here, guys.
We appreciate you too, man. And thanks again. It was such short notice. We basically planned this all out today. But it was an absolute pleasure to listen to talk about Napoli. You could tell you're passionate. You could tell you're passionate about the club. So it's always a pleasure. And for sure, we're going to have you on probably before we know it.
For sure.
Adri, we'll stay on. We'll talk some Champions League. But thanks for coming on, Carm.
All right. Thanks, guys.